No mai haere mai e te whānau. Welcome to the Flight of the Next podcast. My name's Holly. I'm on Gadigal land in Sydney. In Te Whanganui Atara, Wellington, we have Ethan. And in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, we have Erin. A couple of games to chat today, but we will start with catching up with Ethan Franson, who organised or helped organise the Fever Tua, which was those two wonderful, wonderful games, the one against Canberra, which we won 2, and the one against Sydney, which we also managed to win 2-0. The official tour is lucky. Ethan, what sort of went into getting the tour underway, and how did it go for you?
Yeah, it kind of came about from a few people had been asking for it back, and, you know, kind of with after COVID and everything, it kind of dropped away, and we thought, why not? We'll pick it back up this year. And it came about because we looked at the schedule and just looked at the best weekends. The other option was to go to the Brisbane doubleheader, but Brisbane flights on the 3rd of January were going to cost like double. So we thought, maybe not. And yeah, so we settled on Canberra and Sydney. And then, yeah, I mean, from a Fever point of view, it wasn't terribly much to organise, just buying a bulk load of train tickets and game tickets, but yeah, and then everyone kind of made their way there, and it worked out quite well, actually. Everyone had a good time, and the pre-game food and everything was well, and everyone got in, so we had no ticket problems, and everyone made the train, importantly, too. So yeah, from a Fever sense, it was fantastic, and then to top it off with 2 wins as well was spectacular.
It was fantastic to have you guys here. I do wonder how much money people spent above and beyond the beer necessities. It seemed like a lot of alcohol was consumed, but it was all done in good spirits.
Yeah, it definitely was. It's a shame that Australia's alcohol prices are so high, but there's nothing some duty-free can't fix.
I love people discovering the hard solo. That was very popular. For those in New Zealand, it's kind of like there's hard rated now. There's a kind of like lemonade drink, which is very lemony, called Solo. And then someone made an alcoholic version called Hard Solo. But then someone said, well, it's too attractive to kids because it says Solo on it. So now it's hard rated, but it basically tastes like Solo.
It made its way to New Zealand or maybe April last year. I think when the Victory boys were over last time, it had just made it to New Zealand, but that we don't have the orange one. So the orange one, which tastes incredibly just like Fanta. So we were there, and it's right, have to go and have Solo, who used to sponsor the league, funnily enough. So if you go look at some of the earlier league ones, they have Solo. It was on the back of the shorts. So yeah, Solo sponsored the league as well. And I wish they'd bring that sponsorship back. That would be fantastic.
I heard that Canberra's not quite used to active support in that kind of capacity. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so they get really good numbers. You know, they're averaging similar to Porirua around the 1,000 mark all year long. But yeah, there was no kind of standing up zone. There was no form of drum or really organised chants. And walk in about 30 of us in yellow with the drum that the club just chucked in their luggage. And yeah, so we set up on 2 grandstands and had a, right old time chanting from, start to finish, and even after the finish as well. Only one security power tripped, but other than that, everything was quite all right. But yeah, I think it was once or twice we heard, a Go Canberra chant from the other stand, and we gave that all of about 5 seconds before starting an O Wellington over the top of it. And yeah, it was good fun. And a lot of the Canberra fans, they had a lot of respect for us, so we got a lot of applaud as they walked their way out. But yeah, it was really cool. But yeah, I think we kind of gave them a new
I don't think they knew quite what had happened, and that's why I think that the Seki who was upset because somebody swore. They clearly don't get a lot of active support. I assume that there's a couple of actives that kind of show up, like the Cove, but I don't think they've had anything like that for a very long time. That was fun. The Sydney game, we did get a little bit of grief as well. It took a long time to get the drum in, and then we had grief with the banners, and then someone tried to steal one of the banners, which they were run off by Sian, who is not the scariest person you have seen, but this sort of thing happens. So are you planning to run it next season?
Yes, 100%. It was a raging success, so it's happening next season, so prepare your wallets. Again, we don't know where we're going. Hopefully this time we get a bit longer with the draw so we can plan these things, but it will definitely be what's the best weekend to go watch both teams in hopefully the same state, because it just makes it a lot easier. But yes, we will be doing Fever Tour next year. So yeah.
And it was only one cell phone left on the train, or many people leaving their cell phones on the train?
It was one jersey left on the plane. Myself, my Fever hoodie. I'm actually so gutted. And then we were on the train to where we're going to stop in an ultra football in Sydney. And as we were getting to the stop, I jokingly turned to everyone and said, "Ha ha, don't forget anything." I left my phone on the train and we had to go chase it another half hour one way and another half hour back. So yeah, don't do that. I don't recommend it, especially when you're the only one with the bus ticket to Canberra the night before the game. So yeah.
I think that's pretty tame compared to Smitty somehow being kicked out of McCullough Park. I don't think that there's anyone who's ever been kicked out of McCullough Park, but that's what you get for not being very good at smuggling alcohol in. So we hope that next Fever Tour, Smitty can actually get into both games. Either way, it was heaps of fun, and we were so stoked to have you as the little corner of yellow. So please come back anytime with the tour, because it was fantastic. If you're thinking about going on a tour, definitely, if you got the money, definitely shop. It's a ball. A lot of those people who went to the tour made the mistake of hanging around in Newcastle for a week. After a very successful tour weekend, the addendum to the tour was a very disappointing men versus Newcastle game away at McDonald Jones Stadium. This one couldn't have started much worse than it did. I think this one actually went in much earlier than that horrible Auckland goal went in. We had recently, 21 seconds in, Lockie Bayliss, just from the top of the box. He just sort of wriggles around and fights off a couple of our defenders, and it is a very good goal. It is a very, very good goal, but we're just standing there in their way bay going, what on earth just happened? How did we concede so early? I think we actually had some decent chances after that. 15th minute, 20th minute, other good chances. 28th minute, triple save from Dalyanov and a bunch of blocks. We could not believe that it did not go in. We had quite a few chances to put it over the line, and somehow that scramble defence just kept it out. We couldn't believe it. And since that, we didn't do that well. 56th minute, Clayton Taylor didn't need a lot of space. 70th minute, we've got Adams from a Bayliss pass. We did have a bright spot with Sander Carton debuting. 86th minute, he did score a goal. Payne started the play for this and then played the assist, which was really, really nice. So that was a tidy curl with the left foot. 89th minute, there's no chance of any kind of fight back at this point. Bertoncello, I think this was genuinely awful defending. James was the only one really set when it was time to try and actually defend. And honestly, I think LBS is the only one who's even level with Bertoncello when he shoots. I think we had just sort of given up. It was a very, very frustrating goal. The XG doesn't actually look as bad as the scoreline, 3.78 to 2.25. The shots on target were 8 to 7. So the stats actually weren't too bad. The scoreline was really disappointing. Ethan, would you like to start?
I was saved for most of that because I somehow didn't manage to watch the whole game. I was saved by a wedding on Saturdays, which meant I couldn't make the Newcastle leg, so maybe it ended up in my favour. But yeah, it was a stark contrast to the Sydney game, where everyone in that backline in the Sydney game was having the game of their lives. Like Sydney, Sheridan was playing 3 positions across the back and he nailed all 3 of them, and that unit looked solid. Sure, we got a little lucky with our goals against Sydney, but the back unit was so incredibly solid. And then just even watching what I saw of the game, it just wasn't there, that same confidence, that same stability. We just seemed to lose it, and we ended, there were a fair few plays where we were pissing around the back too, and it was, shadows of a Phoenix I thought we'd left behind, but apparently not.
Yeah, I don't know where Dalianov suddenly learned how to be a goalkeeper, because that triple save that he did is unreal. I feel like he has not played that well this whole entire season. And, we came across a box office Jets. I think all of their goals were well struck. And, besides, I guess, our pretty poor defending, yeah, those goals were well struck. But we did have our moments to kind of get back into it. I think Piper had a chance earlier in the game where he didn't quite hit it wide enough, and Dalianov got a save to it. And then there was that quadruple save where someone should have been able to knock that in, but we didn't. So I think it was a combination of just not being our day. I think on some of the other games we've played earlier, that those would have gone in. And I think a case of kind of lazy defending, especially that fourth goal. Players weren't even running back. They were jogging. I think LBS is the only player who actually put in any kind of effort, besides from James, who was already in position. On the first goal as well, you can see the players kind of passing off the defensive work to the other people in the team. Rufa's pointing to Rami, Rami's pointing back to Alex, saying, pick up this player. In the end, no one really does. No one really puts pressure on it, and he has enough time to put a shot away and hit it top corner as well. So, we can't be doing that against a team like the Jets, who thrive on kind of just back and forth play and chaotic play. And yeah, we were punished for it, and it's kind of a bit of a backward step from what we've seen so far this year. But I don't think it's the ending of our season. I think that we can recover from this and focus on tidying up that play, and also hopefully get some more minutes into Sanders' legs, because he was looking very good when he came on. It was giving me Chico vibes from last year, where he came on and kind of made that difference in the 2 games and got a season-ending injury. So hopefully we don't get that with Sander this time. But yeah, he was looking tidy. So I think more minutes in him, and I think that he can kind of fill in perhaps what we were missing with Rami playing there. And yeah, hopefully we can get some more goals from that and put that game behind us and go back to how we were playing earlier in the year.
Yeah, I agree on the Sander bit. I watched the last 10, 15 minutes of the game, and he came on, and his first ball was a very good pass straight up the middle, where LBS actually stopped because I didn't think it was going to get to him, but he could have made it. But that direct forward play, then his second touch of the ball was the goal. And it's that kind of 10 role that we have been missing, that person to receive, turn, and play it forward. Because we had the 2 holding kind of midfielders, which is, Nagasawa and Rufa, and we've kind of got the front 3 of Piper, Eze, Rami, but there's nothing to link other than just hit it long and pray. So he's looking good in being able to do that, and I don't know how that means he'll fit in. Maybe it might mean a fallback, I'm praying, but I would like to see a lot more minutes out of him, and soon.
I mean, do you really think we need a back 4? There's a lot of arguments about this, because we do play really high wing backs. So like Carlo and Tim, they really spend a lot of time attacking. What is it about switching to a back 4 do you think changes the way that we play for the better?
I think it's currently a problem that both the men and women have, is that sometimes the 2 in the midfield just aren't enough. My other argument would be just make Carlo a full-time attacker, because he should be there, and allow that, because then your fullback can still bomb up, the holding player can shuffle in. Yeah, I just think you really need some elite centre mids to make that happen, and I'm not saying that any of ours aren't, but you need some league firing imports in the middle to really make that work, and I just don't think it was working for us at the moment. But
we seem to have dropped the high line a little bit, which has been a relief, but that doesn't help when you decide not to defend very well when the ball is actually in your box. Sian, the lady who chased away the flog who tried to pull down the banners at Sydney, she said that they could have at least either defended or attacked, but couldn't decide to do either, so did none, which is what it felt like through some stretches of game. I think she saw the second half, which I think was their worst one. She got stuck in the awful traffic from Sydney to Newcastle and only saw the second half, and kind of missed the good stuff that was in the first half. But yeah, I kind of don't blame her. And she was thinking if she got stuck in like 3 hours of traffic to get to Newcastle to watch half a game that we would at least win. Was not to be. Hopefully our next trip to Newcastle will be better, which we will talk about when we talk about the women. Any further thoughts about the Newcastle game?
I just hope that Newcastle continue their season as they go, I would love to see them take that top spot. And yeah, they just play some real cool, funky football. And it would be really good for the club to, do the double this season, I think, after all of the struggles they had over the last 5 years with being sold and owned by different parts of the league. So yeah, I kind of hope they do quite well and don't just beat us and turn back to going shit again.
Yeah, I was hoping that if we were going to lose and lose by that much, we would lose by enough so that Jets went top of the table and kicked Auckland off the top spot. But unfortunately, we got our goal back, and so Auckland did stay top. But yeah, hopefully Jets. I'm backing them to pull something over some of these big boy teams in the league.
Yeah, they've been excellent this season. They're exciting to watch as well. Obviously, if you're on the receiving end, it's not so fun, but they are a really exciting team to watch. So I actually genuinely, I would be rooting for them outside of obviously wanting the Knicks to somehow manage to win it all. Next up, we do have a team that had a really, really awful last game. We have City at Sky Stadium on Friday, 7 p.m. kickoff New Zealand time. We haven't played City this season, so it will be an interesting test. It will also be interesting to see if they can come back after being thumped 6-2 by MacArthur. I just don't know with City. I don't know which kind of which team is going to show up on Friday. Who knows? It could be this team that played Sydney. It could be the team that played Jets. Ethan, you will be there. How are you feeling about it?
I'm more worried for which City team's going to turn up because they've had the problem of a very sprinkling of 30-year-old imports and then quite literally the rest of the squad as teenagers. However, they have gone very hard on the Socceroos who would really like to make the squad and have brought 4 players on loan. Arzani, Tilio, Delbridge, and one other attacker. So they've got an entire new front 3 of quite good A-League attackers who just haven't made it in Europe. So if they all, end up starting, we could be in for quite a funky Friday night. So the less of them I see, the better. But yeah, if we can just get back to being the normal Phoenix, then that would be much appreciated too.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's the case of they've brought in all these fancy new players and they just haven't had time to merge anyone together yet. You kind of have a team of stars instead of a star team. And so hopefully that we kind of recover from our loss more than they recover from their loss and put up a good performance against a team that's definitely better on paper. But, it's the A-League, so I feel like I say that every week. It's the A-League. We don't know what's going to happen. One win and we can, win the whole thing. And so hopefully, we kind of just put out a good performance here, give the home fans something to cheer about.
All right, well, let's move on to a much better game. A much, much better game. And I love doing the poor games first and the better games second because you just sort of end on a better note. Women versus Adelaide. We played at Porirua Park. Looked like a good turnout. As always, a good Fever turnout. I genuinely think that Fever show up with the best home women's support in the league. I don't think there's anyone who's near it, even the Cove. Player of the match for this one was Michaela Woods, who we will talk about her contributions. We had Mackenzie Anthony on the bench, and we'll come back to this. But the first minute, Marisa van der Meer, that could have easily been a dog so red. The game could have been very different if that was the case. We will come back and chat about that. I thought our first 15 minutes was really poor. Our passing percentage, the first 15 minutes was 54%. Wasn't a good look and it was a bit of a worry. However, 15th minute, Michaela Woods with a goal. Jali plays a really long through ball. Lucia Leon runs onto it and then slips it wide instead of shooting, and Michaela scuffs it in after a little deflection, it seems, from the Adelaide player. A few minutes later, Brooke Nunn, I think that, Woods has done really well there. She settles the ball at the top of the box, couple of touches, plays a wonderful, beautifully weighted through ball for Brooke Nunn, who takes a touch and puts it into the back of the net. We're sitting on 2-0 for a long time. Thankfully, in the 86th, we get to the point where Nunn scores another one, just a snapshot from the top of the box. No chance for a keeper. That's a really tidy finish. Adelaide do pull one back in the 87th minute with Hodgson. A cross deflects off of Walker, and Hodgson just gets there first and tucks it away. So a 3-1 win, possession 39-61, XG 0.99 to 1.04, accurate passes 173 to 333. A lot to talk about, but let's talk about that Vandermeer. She's obviously clattered the defender down. It's obviously a foul, and it felt like the whole stadium was holding its breath, and she was too. She stood up, and the look she gave the ref was just like, this could go either way. So is it a dog-so, considering Mac is around? And also, even if it was would that have been given as a red card if it wasn't literally the first minute of the game? Ethan, were you in the stadium?
I was, in fact, in the stands, and this is an even funkier one considering I have picked up refereeing in the last year as well. It's right on the fence. I think she is saved by the fact that Mac is, from it looked like, in line or slightly closer to the goal, but also it's one that I think if you give it as a dog-so, I really can't see anyone overturning it. You know, if that goes upstairs in any league, you can't prove that that's not a dog. So yeah, my first thought was, this is the Jets all over again. You know, like peak Phoenix, 2 games in a weekend, and 20 seconds in, we have calamitous starts, but we were saved. Yeah, I'd have to watch that 20 more times to see, but I think we can safe to say we got lucky.
I quite like the slander name. You've done your 7-ish beers with Marissa. Marissa drank some beers or something like that. Is how you mispronounce that. But that was a very, very close call, I think. If she was any closer to the goal line, that probably would have been a dog-so. But I think just the distance to the goal, and with Mac kind of covering, perhaps because it was so early in the game, she probably got away with it. But, it is a foul on Fiona Warts, who is a pretty quick player, and she's a pretty good finisher. So definitely probably a goal scoring opportunity there if she gets one-on-one with Essen. So very, very lucky that wasn't a red card, because, that would have completely changed the outcome of this game.
I agree. It could have changed the outcome. We might have been looking at, that's 90 minutes. More than when you count stoppage time. Like, if that happens literally in the first minute, you're playing that whole game a player down. And that is a big ask. I felt like a lot of our tactics, and I complained about our poor passing accuracy. I did feel like a lot of our tactics for that game was playing it long early. That's a low percentage pass, right? If you're playing it long and through and early, but it felt like every time we got the ball that's often what we were looking to do. And I feel like we might struggle. You struggle with that when you don't have as many people on the pitch. So then you have to turn around, you have to change your game plan, which I'm assuming would involve Vic Essen suddenly in the first minute needing to see the doctor for whatever mystery reason that she has a sit down most games and then gets up and keeps playing. How did you feel about the tactics we took for this? I know only one of our goals came from that long ball, but do you feel like that was a tactic we went through, and is it something that works for us, or are we better off trying something else?
It was a bit of both, because albeit I wouldn't say that was some of our best football in the first half. It wasn't, but unlike other games or other seasons, we had exactly 2 chances and we took the both of them. And I think if you look at who we put in kind of those players to receive it, you've got Michaela, Pia, Brooke Nunn as well. They are quite fast and quite good. So, and it looked like an Adelaide specific tactic, especially when it was I believe the first goal came directly from the long ball, which just looked very planned. So I don't know if it's a permanent thing or just a Adelaide thing, but it seemed to work enough. And maybe that was also a result of, if we're not controlling the midfield at all, then let's just do the obvious thing and just avoid it entirely by having it long. Yeah, so on the fence, it worked enough for that game. We'll see if it works against other teams or other styles, but yeah, it's a pass.
I think we've started pretty poorly our past 3 or 4 games or so. We have not looked good in the first half, and we were just lucky, I think, that we did manage to score quite early in this game as well, because we were absorbing a lot of pressure from Adelaide. We didn't really see much of the ball. We didn't have much of an opportunity except for on basically a long ball break of play, and we just, hoof it up and just happened to have the faster players on the field to do that. And so I think that that's something that needs to be worked on, because if we come across a team that's probably a bit more clinical up top, then we will go down early, which we saw against Melbourne City. They punished us in that exact same way, and I feel like the Jets could probably do that as well when we come across them. And so I think that's something that the team needs to focus on coming into the next game, because starting strong means that, if we get early goals, I think that we're pretty set, because our defense is pretty solid. But it's as soon as we're kind of trying to chase goals near the end, it's kind of where we have lost our games this season, has been through last minute goals or last minute lapses of concentration. And each goal that Adelaide scored in this one, it was just kind of a nothing. We just probably switched off and was throwing legs at a ball and just kind of not really committing to it. And so hopefully that, we can shake that off. I feel bad criticizing the team when we've kind of been winning and we've been playing well, but I haven't been convinced. It's, I kind of just want to watch a game without worrying that we're not going to be able to hold on to a lead. And I haven't really felt this way so far for this team, except for maybe that Sydney. I don't think Sydney were going to get 7 goals. But I was also interested in how Lefia Leon would have played this game, because she did play for Adelaide last season. And I feel like she did play quite well in this game. She got that first assist. And I was, is that a tactic? Did she bring some tactics to Bev as well from playing with them the whole of last season? Maybe where their weaknesses were, or maybe where they were vulnerable as well, because the team was probably relatively similar to last year as well.
Yeah, you've got to love a trader who shows up, switches sides, and I'm sure she had some kind of input there. Look, I think Lou, when we had that player of match conversation, it was sometimes you have a difficult time picking player of the match because there was no one who was particularly good. And then you have player of the match decisions where it's like there were so many people who were so good. None could have taken it with the 2 goals. Michaela did get it because she had a goal and assist. I think she caused a lot of trouble, and she's also been playing quite well lately. Also in contention for the 3-2-1 points. I mean, Lou Leon, really, really good. Pia Vlock. There were just so many people who were really on fire in that second half. Obviously, we do have... Okay, so I have to credit Danny for this. We have another ACL in the team, CJ Bott, as in ACL as in anticipated child labour, as he's decided to call it. So I'm not sure if we mentioned her last week, but yes, so out for the rest of the season with a pregnancy. So congratulations to her. But I do wonder, maybe the long ball is partly about not having CJ in the middle. So it'll be interesting to see if that continues, because I feel like Peinenberg is still getting into the role a little bit. But I imagine that shirts off felt really, really good, Ethan.
Mostly. It decided to stop being warm and start being cold, and then the wind came in as soon as we took our shirts off. I know, peak. But yeah, no, it was fantastic to have the shirts off and doing it. And it's the Fever's fault that we conceded. Someone was trying to start a "We Want 4" chant as they were attacking, and then bump in the goal. Turned around and was like, right, you can wear this stupid hat, you muppet. So yes, that was someone's fault in the Fever. But yes, that was a good day.
Yep. Bird brain. I hadn't realised until the tour what the distribution of bird brain that hat, the Angry Birds hat, wasn't. So apparently if you do something stupid, you have to start wearing it until somebody else does something stupid. So yes, that person does deserve bird brain. Let's talk about our next match. So we've played Jets already once this season. It was a 1-1 draw. This is away this Sunday, February 1st. at number 2 Sports Ground. New Zealand time, that is 7 p.m. It is 5 p.m. local. Please join the Little Corner of Yellow if you are able to make it to Newcastle. We are very much hoping that our second trip to Newcastle in about a week will be much, much more pleasant to go to and to drive away from. Let's see. I think Jets have been all right. Their last match was a loss 2-1 to Adelaide, and they had a bye last week. Thoughts on the Jets?
They're good. It's cliche because it is, but everyone's good at the moment. I mean, second to 9th inclusive, second to 10th, 9th inclusive, 75% of the league is separated by 2 points. So, yes, they lost to Adelaide, but I think the week before they got their first ever victory over City in club history, making us the only ones left. But, so yeah, it's really just one of those, whatever version of the 11 players on the pitch turn up on the day sort of thing. It's kind of just how the league's going, is if you can get the 11 players that you should, all of them turning up, then you're good. But if, even 1 or 2 players are having an off day, then it's really going to be hard for you. And we got to watch out for their ex-Phoenix contingent that decides to just be good once. I don't know if it's because they've needed somewhere else to grow or because we stunted their growth. I hope it's the first one. But yeah, the ex-Phoenix contingent that have appeared there and are doing quite well.
Yeah, I think Jets this season have kind of beaten the top teams and then kind of flopped against the bottom team. So maybe they kind of need a challenge to play well. They've beaten Melbourne City, they've beaten Canberra, and they've beaten Brisbane. That's 1, 3, and 4 at the moment on the table. And so they're probably looking at us, rubbing their hands together, saying, we can collect all 4, we can collect them all. And so I think that they will be a tough match, especially, at their home as well. And so hopefully we start strong, we stay fit, we travel well, and, we come out firing and get the win. I will be in the stands as well, so I'd hate to see them lose.
Gotta love a long trip and then watch the team lose, especially if we lose poorly. Well, look, number 2 Sports Ground's a nice ground to go to, so hopefully we continue our good run. We are second, thanks to a couple of results on the weekend that did help. After us, Wanderers got a win, which was pretty good, and the first 0-0 draw ever in the Women's Big Blue. So, yes, it is extremely congested in the table. We do have games in hand on a lot of teams, which will help us, so long as we actually win those games. You can't take too much can't count those chickens before they're hatched. Any further thoughts before we log off?
I think we just got to win those games in hand. I think that was one thing we always had under Temple seasons is, we've got games in hands, and we just decide not to win them. And it's like, fantastic. So, no. But, yeah, it's looking good. And I think with the way the team's going, I think a home semi or a home elimination final has got to be the goal. The heck, we should be able to finish in the top 2 and get a home semi guaranteed as well. I mean, that would be awesome. So lately, I'm also starting to save for that because I think I will have to travel to somewhere in a week's notice.
Yeah, I'd just like to say happy 50 games to Mania Elliott. 3 seasons at the Knicks, and seeing her improve year on year. As a young player coming through the Phoenix, it's fantastic to see. I think she is the 5th player to hit 50. So, congrats to her, and many more milestones to come for her, I think.
For sure. Well done. We've got a lot of players clocking up those big games, those 50 games and things like that. So it's absolutely fantastic to see that we've got players that we are, obviously in the past, even now, we have to let go of players that we would like to keep. That definitely happens. But the fact that we're keeping a lot of these players, long term, definitely helps build the squad and the game and the club culture. All right, I will log us off then. Thanks for joining us. Take care and mā te wā.